Hello and welcome to World Tanks with me, the Ripper, and I'm going to be discussing two real subjects today. The first one I'm going to go into is the direction of wargaming North America on console. I'm specifying on console because they're doing things on PC, and I'm not here to discuss PC. Apparently I don't really discuss many things these days, but you know, I'm going to get some discussion done, so let's go with this. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the weak spots on the Japanese heavies. Now, I discussed this in my 4.1 overview, I think. And the reason for bringing this up is it's still not in. I'm pretty sure it's not in. When I asked someone at Wargaming, they said it's not in, but it should be. It's in the pipeline, I don't know, something like that. Now, you might think, well, what's the deal with that? Well, the thing is, it makes no sense. And so the whole point of this, direction that Wargaming are heading. Now, on PC, they've upgraded the Japanese heavies. They put the armour up, said a super heavy needs to be a super heavy, so they did it with the mouse, they did it with a few of them. They did it with the Japanese heavies, and they went, ah crap, okay, we made these a little bit too good. Let's put in a couple of weak spots. It's 10mm less armour, it's not a lot, but it's enough. It's the difference between being able to pen it without having to switch to premium and not being able to pen it for people who don't want to fire premium, or people who, you know, just if you've got that loaded anyway. So why is this not a big deal? Well, we're well past that. It's not a big amount of work. It's literally just changing the armour on two very small parts of the tank. But the fact is, PC already did this. PC went forward and acknowledged that this was a mistake. They said, yeah, my bad. Let's not do this. Now, consoles are supposed to be taking their own direction, but that's a very odd one to have chosen. Why would you choose to ignore that? To me, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what's the point? They're not gaining anything from it. You know, it just makes it look like they've got work to do, but they've done work which they could have not done. If that makes any sense. The work has already been done for them. Like they're just importing over details. Now, I'm not saying there isn't any work involved. I'm sure there's quite a lot of work involved. I know a lot of the models aren't direct ports. You have to sort of do bits here and there. Now, regardless, if they've already made the mistake, acknowledged it's a mistake, the thing is not to do the mistake. You know, as the expression goes, I'm probably going to get this wrong. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I got there eventually. So if you mess something up, you know, if someone messes something up for you, yeah, well, them, how evil of them. If you let someone do it twice to you, you're a bit of an idiot. So are we an idiot here as the general public? But there's no one really annoyed about this, because I don't think it's as much. Obviously, we're not following the same trend, and people just went, I'm going to fire premium anyway. But it's a big deal in the sense of there's a lot of little things, and I've discussed this in a couple of Rippa Rambles, I've discussed this in a few videos, and it's going to go on to something that Foch was discussing, and I'll get onto that in a minute. Now, Foch, when he got removed from the CC program, he was talking about, are they trying to make more money? And direct, so you have to play with gold. You have to have gold, you have to have premium, you have to have premium tanks. I don't 100% agree with that. I don't really agree with that at all. I don't think console are doing that at all, because we have a completely different marketplace, so it just wouldn't work. But I think they are trying to direct towards a certain thing. And that's what I'm going to get onto next. Now, the next one I want to talk about quickly is the E5 drive wheel. Now, it's very, very hard to notice. If I remember to, I'll put a screenshot up so you can see the difference, because I did take screenshots to show to Carbide at Wargaming to show what I meant, so he could check it out himself. And behind the drive wheel on the E5 is 230, 240, so something mid 200s millimeters of armor behind the drive wheel. Now you might think, well, that's not a big deal, but it is. If you're trying to track a tank and say, I've certainly joked in the past about the Wargaming video about how to play heavy tanks, about, you know, diamond poking the corner. Now, if someone does that, they're going to expose their inner drive wheel, and you're going to be able to perma-track them, usually in a position where their gun can't fire. Now, you can definitely do this to an E5. Except you're not that likely to, depending on which angle you shoot at, because there's a drive wheel, which is, you know, 30-40mm of armour, then there's this 200 and something behind it, and it gives an equivalent of nearly enough for 300mm of armour. And you're just not going to pen that with most guns. And things like heat rounds definitely aren't going to pen it, because it's spaced armour, because it's the drive wheel, then a gap, then the armour. And again, PC nerfed this. Now, not only did they nerf it, they did it in the same patch that the Japanese heavies got their weak spots, And it was in the same patch that they got the nerfed hatch. We've had the nerfed hatch, if you can call it nerfed. It's still ridiculously strong. But we've had the nerfed hatch. So why haven't we had it? Yet again, they've chosen to keep something out. 4.2, which has just hit the live server. Well, it's not just hit the live servers earlier this week. It tried to bring us to a certain point on PC. So we are now caught up. I think it's 9.121 or 181. I think. Except we're not, because yet again at that point the drive wheel on the E5 had been nerfed. The Japanese heavies had the little armor ports at the front nerfed as well. So they had their armor profiles changed. Now, you might not think that is a big deal, but it makes a big difference. It means you're less likely, if at all, to be punished for mistakes. You might think, well, what do I mean by mistakes? Well, we've all done it before, where we've either, you drive around the corner, you get detected, you get spotted, whatever, you pull back, it's not detected anymore, sorry, it's targeted, which I'll get onto as well. So you go around the corner, oh, I'm spotted, pull back. But before you can pull back, because you're going so fast, someone shoots you in the front drive wheel. Oh no, you're tracked. Now you have to use your repair kit, and you stay there and die. You won't do that anymore with an E5. Well, you won't do that before, and hopefully it won't be this by the time someone's watching this video in ever. Then it's going to be different. But unfortunately, as it is right now, if someone shoots you in that drive wheel, they're probably not going to penetrate you, which means you're not going to be punished. You can drive around forwards, around a corner, you can expose your drive wheel, you can be very, very poor play and get away with it. Why? Because, well, this is the bit I'm going to get to. Now, removing the RT mechanic from detected is the worst single decision I have seen from Wargaming North America probably ever. Oh, no, not true. Doing the general accuracy nerf was the worst decision I've ever seen Wargaming North America do. Because every single player on PC, I think, would if they could have any one thing removed, it would be that. I mean, people can talk all they want about the RNG of pen mechanics and all that sort of stuff, but I never used to hear the complaining about it and the extent of premium spam until that happened. Because right now, I would say so yesterday I was playing with someone. I was playing with You Got Razored from Corruption. Some of you may know who that is. I think he's had probably a couple of replays. He's definitely been on Sin's channel, and he's definitely been on some of my replays with the stereotype of if I do well, he tends to do terrible and ends up on my YouTube channel to embarrass him. Always fun. But he's watching me, and I'm playing the new Tier 10 lights on my second account, which Wargaming have been nice enough to give me access to. And I'm in the 100 LT, the Russian one. 0.46 accuracy. 0.46. That's like 7, I believe, different than the derp on the Sheridan. It's, you're talking like KV2 derp gun level of accuracy nearly here. It's that bad. Snapshot on the move, hit, batch out through a gap. Pff, no problem. Quite regularly, hitting shots, no problem. Generally, you're hitting them. Accuracy-wise, it's not a thing. It's just the fact that you're hitting them. You can't really guarantee any more than that. But then, later on, I have to think it was in the German... No, it wasn't in the German one. The German one I did particularly well. I can't remember. I think it's the Sheridan. With the 105, far more accurate, like 0.11 more accurate, which is a huge amount in World of Tanks. And my shots are just... I fired like 2 or 3 fully aimed shots at like 300 meters. They didn't hit. Firing from 200 meters away, aim at weak spots, nah, still not going to hit. Accuracy means nothing. As far as I'm concerned, accuracy means absolutely nothing now. I'll fire on the move. I remember one time where I nearly broke down laughing because I was in my not in my E100. Sorry, I was shooting at an E100 in my Object 140, and I'm about 250 meters away. I'm double bushed. Guy can't spot me. I'm aiming at his lower plate. Fire, and I think I bounced like 5 or 6 shots off his lower plate. Now he starts coming towards me. I need to get away. I use dip, get far enough away. As I'm crossing a little kind of opening about 380, 400 meters away, no cover between us, I RB, fire, on the move, pen his lower plate. I bounced off his lower plate, or, well, more often than not, actually. So I'd be aiming at his lower plate, but the shots went high or low. So I hit the ground or I hit his upper plate. Over and over again. Less than 250 meters away. 380, 400 meters, just on the move. Yeah, low plate. You're in there, mate. And now, yes, that is an element of RNG, but more importantly, it's just the accuracy nerf. RNG had less of an effect on the old system than it does now. Anyway, I'm going way off subject because, you know, it's me. And also that says, I think I said tubject because I was going to say topic and then I was going to say subject and I came up with tubject. So yes, the tubject of the issue. No. The removing of the artillery mechanic for from detected. So one of the things that was a great equalizer for artillery, if you like. Now, I've seen a lot of people go, oh yeah, no, but Artie, I know, just an ace. Okay, I'm well with just an ace, but I have to shit on you. Sorry, but I have to shit on your video here. You did a video about artillery safe being a load of rubbish. Now, I watched that video. I watched it a couple times, and I showed it to a couple of people. And they all agree with you after the first watch. Then I watch it with them and say, oh yeah, but this. And when they go, oh yeah. One of the clips I remember was a CDC, and there's no one with a line of sight on you. He's sat still, and there's a detected thing. So you know artillery is aiming at him. In the same clip, artillery is already fired at him. It starts off with artillery firing, aim and missing. He moves, he comes up, gets spotted, sits still, artillery hits him and kills him. No shit. You know artillery is aiming at you. You know you've been spotted. You know that no one has a line of sight on you right now, and there's a detected thing. So that means you know artillery is going to fire at you. In almost all of them, he is detected with no line of sight on him, which means artillery is aiming at him. Now, admittedly, some of them are particularly good shots from artillery, basically RNG, luck, guesswork sort of thing. Some of them are, I think there's a couple where he is no longer spotted, but he was still staying still in the location he was last spotted. I've done that before. You hit people. It's luck. But it happens. It was completely avoidable. Retro Jules did a good video, I think, yesterday? Or was it the 5th? What's the day today? Yeah, so about 3 or 4 days ago. And he, you know, against artillery, and he was hunting down artillery. Very amusing video. I like the video, but I do have to say, on the point where at the beginning, he couldn't have known artillery was aiming at him with what happened in the video. But if he had reversed around the cliff for a second, because there was a little, like, not cliff, like rock in front of him, there'd be no line of sight on him from any of the other tanks. But he would have still had a detected symbol because artillery was aiming at him. And that would have been the difference. And it's why you're seeing a lot of my stuff. I randomly reverse behind rocks if there's artillery there. And it's not because I'm trying to avoid incoming fire. More often than not, these people aren't aiming at me, and I can quite clearly see that. But it's because if I reverse behind a rock and it then still says detected, I know artillery is aiming at me. So I need to drive erratically. I need to maybe not fire, stay behind the rock, get undetected, come back out, fire again then. That sort of thing. The detected mechanic with artillery meant that there was a genuine way that there is almost no situation where it is anything other than your fault for being hit by artillery. And I'm aware it's not popular opinion, and I'm not saying artillery is balanced. The fact that it could then hit you for all your health, not so balanced. If you sit still, when artillery is aiming at you for more than 2 or 3 seconds, when they only have a 2 or 3 second travel time on their shells, it's largely your fault. It's not fair that that's the result of what happened from you making a mistake. It's too punishing of a mistake for an arcade game, which is what it is. But if you go play War Thunder, which a lot of people are excited about coming to Xbox, you make a far less of a mistake, say putting the top of your commander's hatch exposed for 2 seconds. You can die. That's it, out of the game. Next tank. Next game. Queue for another few minutes. And people are excited about that, but then, you know, sitting there for 4 or 5 seconds. This is not aimed at either of the other two here, but this is just aimed at the general public. Sitting there for 4 or 5 seconds, and then getting hit by artillery, go, oh, artillery's fault. You sat there for 4 or 5 seconds with a detected symbol. You have all the tools to tell whether artillery is aiming at you. I think occasionally it didn't work, or was a bit iffy, but in general, it worked. And they've removed it. I couldn't give a crap about the detected thing, really. It's nice. It is nice. I won't deny it. It's very useful on World of Warships. There's a similar one, but you get it as a skill. So if you're spotted, which it tells you anyway, it tells you how many people are aiming at you. Now, I would much rather see that. I'd rather see that the detected/targeted thing removed and a skill added that you can choose to train. And that way you take up a skill point. Sorry, it's not tanks. You take up a skill, perk, whatever, to know that you are being aimed at right now by 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 12 people, 15 people. Doesn't matter. But because you know, it might say 0, which one, you know, I might be spotted, but no one's aiming at me. That's a really good thing. Or maybe have a skill or perk that says that is called Arty Safe, and it tells you when artillery's aiming at you. I mean, how useful is that? But we had that for everyone. Complete level playing field at that point, which is one of the things I've always bigged up about console. It's a level playing field. We got no mods. We got no you can't really hack the game. You know, there's no one sort of going, yeah, well, there's custom controls which you can put more mod keybinds to, but there's no real difference. It's not really speeding anything up or making anything better. It's just a different key or a different button, I guess. None of it's really making a huge difference. This, on the other hand, is quite drastic. You know, there's a lot going to be changed by this process. Like, it took me a real... Oh yeah, another thing that irked me, and I did bitch, and Ben from the Beard Guys corrected me on this. But I bitched at Wargaming and said, why... you know, someone told me go read the patch notes, because I didn't notice this. And I said, well, I did read the patch notes. I did read the patch notes, and it wasn't there. So, what's going on? Why is it not in the patch notes? How are you trying to sneak this in? And Ben then went, no, it is here. Blah, 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 link to it. But it wasn't in the patch notes. It was in, like, the announcement. So in the full in-depth patch notes, which is the only thing I usually look at, nothing. No mention, nothing. In the bit that, you know, it's just the announcement, brief bit of information, it mentions it. That's dumb. But whatever, that's my error for not checking both. But I don't see any way that this is a positive step forward. And then those 3 things bring me on to the 4th point within the direction of Wargaming NA on console, which is, I've brought it up before and I'm going to say it again, I think Wargaming North America are massively trying to push towards the casual market. Now, as some people may be aware, I not exactly got in an argument with Quickie Baby, but I called Quickie Baby out. I made the point that a lot of his fans, I played PC a lot at the time, probably more than console at the time, and people would say, oh, you're a reroll. I went, no, I used to play Xbox. I learned how to play on console, I now play PC. And to its response, a couple of people were like, oh, that's interesting. Or my favourite one was, there's no way you played console, you're far too good to be a console player. I was like, okay, backhanded compliment in a weird way, not that you intended it to be. He meant it as an insult, I should just add, because he was talking about console and shitting on console. But the main thing you got was F off, back to console. Go die, you console scrub, go back to console. And, you know, I'd say, like, some of these people I'd question, why do you think this? Why have you said this? Why are you so negative against console? Oh, because Quickie Baby said this, because Quickie Baby said that. Now, the difference, I would say, Jingles also said, if you think he refers to us as console peasants. In my interview with him at I60, he jokingly said, oh, and another console peasant. But I'd been speaking to him earlier that day. When he says it, it's meant with an irony. He's joking. He even talks about those lucky console peasants, how our graphics were better than theirs, or are until the full HD map updates come out. There's a joke there to it, and I think if you can't tell that from watching his videos, you're an idiot. On the other hand, the Quickie Baby videos genuinely said, at this time I disagreed with him, but I'm now annoyingly having to agree with him, and that's where I'm going with this. He said, it's okay, it's not really very good. If you're just after a casual experience and you're not really interested in a proper game, then you can have a go with it. It's for lesser people, essentially. And he went quite hard in some of his streams. I've been shown clips and stuff of him being quite rude towards console. So he put out a tweet, and I said, as you say to us, he said, oh, should I do a console video? And he was doing it because it was the Chieftain. He had no interest in playing the actual console. He had no interest in console itself. He just knew that it would get views and make him money. And so my response was, as your fans would say to us, F off back to PC. And of course he blocked me and then gave me evils at Tankfest, because he's a grown-up. Now, and that's, by the way, this is not anyone telling to stop watching. I'm not telling anyone to stop watching him. You watch who you watch. I don't know why people watch me. I don't know why people watch him. Actually, that's not true. He's very, very professional. I have to give him that. He is unbelievably professional. You've heard how many times I've stuttered in this. You've heard how many times I've made slight word errors. I am not a professional by any stretch of the imagination. You've seen my upload schedule. Wait, there's a schedule? No, there isn't. That's my point. He, on the other hand, utter professional. And like when we were doing the meet and greets at Tankfest, his started before ours, ended after ours. He was there the whole time, and he made sure he saw everyone he could before he had to go anywhere. Utter professional. Man-child, but utter professional. Now, the point is, though, he said about console being geared more towards a casual player. And unfortunately, I think that was foreshadowing. At the time, it wasn't true. At that point, we hadn't had the general accuracy nerf. Well, I think the first time he said it. I think about the second time he did, we had. But we hadn't had a lot of things. And I would have to, at that time, had to massively disagree. The game was far more competitive than PC in a way. Now, admittedly, the actual competitive scene obviously existed on PC and not on console, but the game itself, there was less RNG because the general accuracy nerf hadn't come in. We didn't have mods. We didn't have, you know, my mouse on PC. My mouse probably costs, I don't know, 30, 40 quid or something. It's a wireless gaming mouse. It's got a low response time. It has performance mode where it flicks up the number of times that it reads the surface to the sensitivity up to 500 times. I have extra buttons so I don't have to press stuff on my keyboard, or so that I can use, so I can reach it quicker. Blah 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 blah. It's got macros. My keyboard, Razer mechanical keyboard. Blah 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 blah. All this stuff. I've spent money on this, and it gives me an advantage over someone who hasn't. Someone with a, say, normal mouse with a 10 millisecond response time. That 5 milliseconds made the difference between me moving my mouse, aiming, clicking, and killing him, and him aiming, clicking, and being dead. Don't have that on console. It's fair. There's no, oh, I paid more than this for you. Sorry, I paid more for this than you did, and therefore I'm better. None of that. It's a fair, level playing field, and I loved that so much, but it's sort of becoming redundant. I still don't want mods or any crap like that. Certain mods fine, but definitely not XVM. I'd like more customization within the actual UI of the game, I guess. It would be the mods I would like to see. But this is, I've gone over this a few times about the fact that the general audience, I think, for this game has become much more casual than PC. And as a result, wargaming have gone too far, or are going too far, to specialise in that area of interest. So, if you think about why would they not put the weak spots in on the Japanese heavies? Now, they may eventually do it, due to popular demand, or just because they're being bizarrely lazy in a way that requires them to do more effort now. More effort in the long run, less effort now sort of concept. But it could be that the reason they're doing it is a lot of players who you see playing the things like the Japanese heavies, the E5, artillery, they're more casual. I don't really see very many super unicorn platoons of the E5. I don't really see too many super unicorn platoons of the Type 5 or the Type 4. I certainly don't see too many super unicorn platoons of artillery. Nor of any of them of just particularly good players. W and 8 aside, because that's not a particularly accurate assessment of whether or not they're a good player. So these are not tanks that I would say are preferenced by, you know, the best of the best of the best, sir. Men in Black reference for those who like Men in Black, I guess. So they seem to be trying to make it so the drive wheel not being nerfed. Well, you don't get punished for mistakes. Who makes mistakes? Casual people. Who don't want to be punished for making a mistake? Casual people. And this is not a dig at anyone. This is not a thing of, oh, go away, the filthy casuals. It's not that. This is Rippa Rambles. This is discussion. It's the whole point. I look forward to seeing your comments in the comments section, hearing where you agree with me, where you think I'm wrong. This isn't a criticism. This is just... Actually, no, I am making a criticism. But this is just what my opinion on what they're doing is. The criticism comes in a minute and is what I said a few minutes ago. The Japanese heavies, again, not putting the weak spots on again. You're making it easier for people to play without having to worry about being punished, about making mistakes, blah, 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 blah. The arty mechanic. Well, now, good players are far less likely to be moving and checking, or even just any player who realise that you get art detected behind a rock, meaning, and that would mean that you're being looked at by artillery. Just players in general now are easier for artillery, because they've made it easier for artillery. A mechanic in the game is hated by everyone anyway. Like, it doesn't make sense. And so I have to believe that they're trying to make the game easier for casual players. Now, where my issue then comes in, and the criticism comes in, is they need to do it better than they're doing now. So, one, the drive wheel nerf. Whatever. I think it wouldn't be as much of a punishment as you think. The E5 is already a good tank, and you shouldn't be allowing people to make mistakes, making it easier for them to mess up. You should be rewarding them for learning and improving. Now, the weak spots on the Japanese heavies, for example, if you angle, they're almost redundant. If you stay flat onto someone, they're quite meaningful. So instead of punishing the rest of us so that that person doesn't have to learn to angle, reward them for learning to angle. Now, I'm not giving a method of how to do this because I don't know it. I'm sure there are ways, and I'm sure if we brainstormed, and feel free to chuck me some ideas and I'll throw some to wargaming. But it just seems like they're taking the wrong approach. It's the very lazy approach, in my opinion. It's kind of saying, like, we've got a hole in the wall because we got a leaking pipe. What should we do? Oh, well, we'll just put some plaster on the hole. Fix the fucking pipe. Like, it's a pretty simple concept, and I don't understand why they're not doing it. But we'll see where that goes. I don't believe that it is as Fosh thinks, or for us. Now, this is not PC, for us. I don't think, because there's a lot of these things that are the same thing. We've had the first of the really OP premiums that Fosh mentioned, which is the M4 blah 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 blah, that French HMH tank that came out recently, this heavy tank with ridiculous armor and really good gun. Basically, you just can't penetrate with most tanks, and that came out on PC alongside the T26E5, something like that, which is basically a T32 that's been buffed for reasons. I think it has APCR with like 200 and something pen as its standard round as well. So I mean, it's a really good tank. And then obviously after that came out the Defender and the Chrysler, blah 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 blah. They're all the things that caused the meltdown. So we've already had the first step of those, but we can't really have the, oh yeah, they're making you play it for gold, because console has a better silver economy. So that concept just wouldn't work. But it does look like they're using the same tools to gear the game far more towards the casual player. And I just hope they don't take a step too far. Now, ending on a far more positive, Wargaming Europe are getting more involved. This year I've seen them do a number of events and competitions. I've gone to a couple of the events. I couldn't go to the last event. I really wanted to. I had to end up cancelling my train ticket and everything, because it was almost, I almost predicted it. The week before it, my best friend died. And I'll be honest, still not over it. I am still gutted, and every so often we'll go out with friends and we'll talk about him, and we all end up teary-eyed because it's not right that someone at the age of 27 is taken away from us like that. Now, it just, I coincidentally said on the day, I said, look, I've just found out my mate's died. Very unlikely, but just in case, I may have to cancel because of, depending on his funeral might be around then. I then get told that the next couple of days later, his funeral's going to be on that day. Had to cancel. Okay. But they've been much more involved, and I'm really liking how that's going. Now, I know some of the EU lot had bad reputation on PC, or have handled things not great, but I think any of the community contributors, or anyone who's had to deal with them at events, tournaments, and all this sort of stuff will agree. They're very, very good people. And one of the key differences is, I think, a lot of the people at Wargaming North America, it is just a paycheck. And there are some, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people there who love the game and want to make the game a better and more entertaining place for everyone. But there's some, it's just a paycheck. They clock in, they clock out. Their interest in the game starts at the beginning of the day, ends at the end of the day. There is, like, the work day. They do not care in the slightest about the game. They don't care that you don't like this aspect. They don't care if the entire populace doesn't like an aspect. They care if they get paid and doing what they're doing. Wargaming Europe, a lot of the community staff were brought in from the community. So they had, whatever structure in place, and then they brought in, I know he messed up with the Fosh thing, but Phelan, really good guy. I've spent a lot of time with him. He's really nice. Knows his stuff. He used to be a streamer. He used to be a Twitch partnered streamer. He knows the community. He knows the game. He gets annoyed about the same things we do. Carbide plays the game in his spare time. He goes to work, plays a little bit at work if he has a chance, works around the game, comes home, gets an hour or so into the game if he has the time. If he doesn't, you know, maybe 10 minutes or whatever. But he complains about the same things that we do. Now the difference is he is part of wargaming, so he can't complain in the same way or as vocally. Or well, no, it's not fair. Not vocally, but he can't do it. He has to take the more adult approach. We sit there going, wow, I don't like this. He goes, this is one of the options, and I think this is probably an alternative that I would prefer less, but it's better than some of the potential other alternatives. He sees a lot of the good in the bad, and he knows the stuff behind the scenes that we don't, and has a much better view of things. And I think he does an amazing job at what he does, and I can't wait for him and his colleagues to be more involved. But I think I believe they've been helping push for something which is really, really good, which is Twitch now has its own console section for World of Tanks. If I remember, I will link it down in the description. Make sure, if you use Twitch, make sure to go and follow that. You'll see all the people from that sort of stream. And I know Ben from the Beer Guys, whenever he's been streaming, because he's not working, and when Lamb's there as well, the two of them, they've been raiding and hosting other channels who are using that section when they end their stream, which is, it's anywhere between 80 and 140 odd people boost to that little stream. So that's a very, very nice thing. So I very much recommend using it. I very much recommend looking at it. I think they have had a part in that. But the other thing is they're now streaming a lot themselves. Now, it used to be that the only real wargaming streaming stuff was the Wargaming account, which is owned by North America. But now there are two, What Console, twitch.tv/WhatConsole, and twitch.tv Wargaming EU. I can't remember if it's Wargaming_EU, but it's Wargaming EU. It's around. I'm sure it's linked off their thing. And they also do the same streams on their Facebook pages at the same time. And they're streaming World of Tanks Console. They even have a World of Tanks Console dedicated thing. And they stream in the different languages. And it's all based around Europe, but it's all good. It's positive. I went there the other day in the Polish stream, and I got welcomed because I only went because I knew both the people hosting. I only meant to go in there for a second, but I ended up having a chat with them and some of the people in chat. Doesn't matter that I didn't speak Polish. It was a nice place to be. And it was nice to see them getting involved. And the last thing I will say on this to do with the Wargaming EU getting involved, and some of you might get annoyed at me for this, is I actually did get offered, is all of us who are community contributors for Wargaming Europe, got offered a big prize pool. I believe Sins has or is doing something on this. Ben may have, I'm not sure. I didn't, because I've not been putting up any content, and I wasn't going to I don't like just shoving up content just around rewards and prizes, because it doesn't seem right. I'd rather Wargaming allocated that to people who are going to, they've got an actual audience, they're putting up content. Let the people who've been doing stuff let them be rewarded with the extra views and subscriptions and blah, 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 blah. I don't deserve that right now, so that's fine. But the point was they offered it to everyone. And I think that's great, because in the time I was with Wargaming North America, in the community, in their version, the Community Contributor Program, which was called Club Wargaming, the best we'd get is, I've got a few codes, does anyone want any? At which point they'd be dished out to the person who they like best, and then when people like me, I think Wizard Ken at one point, a couple of others who'd come along and say, "Oh, can we have some?" No. Or, "Okay, here's one. What's it a code for?" "It's a code for a tier 2 premium and 100,000 silver." "What did so and so get?" "Oh, well, they got 10 tier 5 premium tanks, a couple of weak premiums," and you're like, "Oh, okay. How can they get that and I don't?" It's a really crappy system. This has been absolutely brilliant. They've given me a lot of support. I mean, as I say, they've given me Carbide has helped me out to get some footage of the tier 10 lights. More coming on that later. I've given a game over to Ben so that he can put a video up on it. Hopefully that will be up this month for Christmas, maybe. I don't know. It was a particularly good game, but the tier 10 lights, I would have had no idea about any of them if it wasn't for Wargaming Europe's help. Even though they have a lot less input into the game than I would like them to. But ending on a positive, it looks like they're having more input into the game, and that can only be a good thing, in my opinion. So, what is probably 35 or so minutes into this video, I'm going to call it a quit. A quit? Going to call it quits. Call an end to it. Whatever. It's going to stop any time now. You get the idea. So, I hope you've enjoyed this. As usual, I've rambled on for quite a long time. I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to reading your comments in the comments section. I'll try and reply to as many as possible, and hopefully there'll be more footage, actual games, YouTube stuff. I don't know. I'm crap at this, obviously. Hopefully something will happen in the near future, and hopefully it won't be terrible. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening if this is on the podcast version. And as always, I'll see you on the battlefield.